Hello folks. One of the problems that we face in survival, bushcraft and prepping is making a fire when it's wet. When all the tinder around you is soaking wet and it won't take a spark and ignite and form the beginnings of a fire. Now there's one fairly surefire way of getting around this problem, and it's a method that most bushcrafters use to find dry tinder in the wet. And in today's video I'm going to show you exactly that, and we're going to see how to make a feather stick for lighting a fire in wet conditions. Okay, I've had a bit of a sniff around and I've found myself an odd branch that was laying up against a tree. It's nice and dry. I've got a section here that's pretty straight and I think it's going to make an ideal feather stick. Obviously you want to be making sure that it's not laying on the grass or on the ground, because it's going to collect moisture. It's not in a puddle or basically anywhere where it can get wet. Also, if there's any growth on this, moss or any plants popping out of it, you know that it's holding moisture, so avoid that as well. But basically any piece of dead standing will do and normally works. So I'm going to cut a length about a foot or so long. This has got one knot in it here, but generally nothing else. You want to avoid lots of knots. This will stop your knife from sliding through and making nice feathers. So let's get started. So there we are, a section cut out of that branch. Quite hard work actually. That was it's pretty tough wood. However, it's done now. I mean, they say there's a few ways you get warm when making a fire, and one of them is collecting the wood and preparing it. And listen, I'm certainly warmed up now. So next thing I want to do is I'm going to break this into quarters. I have seen it done where you break across here, here, here and here and leave a centre square. That gives you one feather stick. I prefer to do it where you literally baton straight across. I will use the offcut of the branch I've just cut and use that as my mallet. So these are my 4 quarters of that branch section, and it doesn't take much to realise that the driest part of this is going to be towards the middle and the centre here. So this is the ridge or the platform that we're going to work on to create our feather stick. Try also to keep these off the ground now. You want to keep them obviously as dry as possible. Now, when it comes to using your knife, there are several techniques, and it really doesn't matter what type of knife you use. I've got a very basic Mora here that I'm using, but the most essential thing is your safety. You don't want to start flapping about with a knife and put yourself in risk. So there are several ways of doing this. This is my preferred method, and I think the safest method. First of all, I do any cutting as low as possible to the ground. And when I cut to the side, so I'm away from any dangerous areas. So I'm cutting all the time here, yeah. And to make this the most efficient cut, I'm not using this action, I'm going to be using a shoulder pressing movement. This works for me. I'm an old boy, I don't want to be trying to prove anything about what I can and can't do. All I want to do is get the job done. So from here, push down. So I'll put my wood on there, I'm going to hold it here, like so, and then this is the action. With my shoulder, not with my arms. If I just go down now to there, then turn each time so you have a new platform or edge to cut down. If you cut on the same plane, all you'll get is a wider feather come out. Now if you do this very finely, you can get very thin feathers come out. But it takes a bit of practice. It also depends on the type of wood, how soft or how hard it is. Depends on the sharpness of your knife. If you've got an absolute razor sharp knife, you could probably get a smaller, thinner feather. But at the end of this, it's going to work. So I'll just produce a few more. And then the last little bit, I'll just try and do some very small, fine cuts. So there you are. That is now ready to catch a spark. With your feather stick, place the magnesium rod in and scrape off some of the filings into the feathers. This is going to help. There you go. So that one's a light. And that's all there is to it. It is just an excellent way of starting fire when you haven't got any tinder that is that's dry. This will burn for a while now, and if you have managed to get some other tinder that's dry to put on top of it, you can start to build your fire up accordingly. So the feather stick, as easy as that. It took me about half an hour, I suppose, from start to finish, and most of that time was spent cutting this to length. It's a fairly simple, straightforward bushcraft trick to use when the conditions are wet and you've got no dry tinder to start the fire. It works for me 100% of the time. I've never had this fail, so I can see no reason why it shouldn't work for you. Now, one last thing that I want to say, when as bushcrafters we're using knives that are really sharp. If you're out with friends, and especially if you're out in the woods with your knife doing knife work on your own, please carry a first aid kit. It is absolutely essential. As preppers, we know about being prepared and ready for the what ifs, and this is an absolute essential bit of kit when you're out doing any knife work. My kit, just quickly show you, is very specific to knife cuts. Inside here I have a tourniquet, I have some quick clot, that's blood clotting agent, and also an Israeli bandage. These bandages are excellent, they're army issue, they will plug any wound, and deep wounds at that, and wrap them up and stop them from bleeding out. So they're three essential items that I carry with me for cuts, as well as other general bits and pieces for little nicks and what have you. But especially if you're on your own and you're going solo, you need to make sure you've got this type of kit with you that's going to get you out of trouble, at least get you back to safety. So as a little quick safety lecture there, folks, sorry about that, but it really is important. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all the YouTube subscribers and my website viewers and readers. Everything you do, all your comments and everything is very much appreciated. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and for now then folks, take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.